Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2023. But before we get into this year that I hope is filled with wonder and surprises for everybody, we're going to pause. We're going to take a look back at the year that's passed, 2022. And we're going to look at the top five and the top five best and top five worst from the comic books industry from 2022. So let's begin. So fifth best. This was kind of a safe pick for me. We're going to start with something that's just kind of an ease us into the list here, and that is Zeb Wells' run on Amazing Spider-Man. There's nothing special about this book. It's good Spider-Man. It's a book that every week or month when I get it from the comics shop, I look forward to reading it. It surprises me a little bit. I enjoyed his first run with what he did with Ben Reilly and that character, and now what he's doing with this whole mystery of how Peter Parker ruined his life, basically. It's just fun. It's a good read every time. It's solid, and that's why it makes the list, number 5. Other side of the coin, though. Top 5 worst. Oh man, this has to go to one of the most unnecessary and bloated industry or line-wide crossover events we've seen in a while, and that was Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day. Ugh. What a mess this story was. Too many characters, too much going on, stupid idea, too much time wasted on Ashram just walking around the world judging random people. I mean, this book just had everything that's wrong with major studio events, and in the end, when it was done, it really left nothing changed. It didn't have an impact. It was just gone like a fart in the breeze. So Judgment Day, I judge you to be unworthy, and I move on. Fourth best. Now, this is another interesting entry because while this book wasn't the best book I read, I enjoy what it means for the comic book industry, and I think that's what makes it important, and that's why it makes this list, and that is Batman and Spawn. So this, again, the story was serviceable. It was just enough to get Batman and Spawn together. And that's all you really wanted from the story, because really you got Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo art team, amazing. I can watch them draw anything. But the fan anticipation for this book was off the charts. And that's what this industry needs if it's gonna pull itself up and get back to what it used to be. Is it needs to give us projects that the fans just really want. That when we hear it's coming, we just can't wait to get our hands on this book and read it. And that's what Spawn Batman was, and again, that's why they're on this list. So good job for these. I'd like to see more of this going forward. And now let's move on to the fourth worst. And this is another painful one. This one hurt, and this was Predator from Marvel Comics. They attempted to subvert our expectations by giving us just another carbon copy, way ultra powerful Mary Sue, strong female character. She can fight the Predators, she can kill the Predators, she can track their movements, she can use their technology, she can fly their ships. She's just all around great. Predators don't stand a chance. The hunters have become the hunted. The whole thing is stupid. None of it's what we come to Predator Comics to get. So I award this book no points. May God have mercy on its soul. Third best. We always talk about these legacy characters and how writers are reinventing them or ruining them or transforming them to another level or whatever, but you have to give credit when new characters come and they really kind of capture you right from the get-go and get you interested in them and their world. And there were a lot of those this year. There actually are more and more emerging out of the woodwork. But the one that really, I think, encapsulated and caught my eye the most was Vanish from Image Comics. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, of course, they're hot off the King in Black Venom stuff, so that was a really good time for them to strike out on their own. But Vanish just fires on all cylinders. Great story, great artwork. The character himself, his look is really cool. I mean, he gets you right on the cover. And then his origin is just bonkers, and I love every second of it. It's a weird kind of John Wick meets Harry Potter meets The Boys, and it's such a cool read. And if you haven't checked out Vanish, you really need to get down there and check it out. And this is the kind of stuff that I would like to see more of. New characters that are just fun and exciting that people can really get behind and get invested in. And that brings us to the third worst. And this is The Godfather. Look how they butchered my boy. And that's Tim Drake Robin. Oh, this poor character. His comic was just awful. And it's so hard because back when Tim Drake had his first comic, it was such a well-written and well-drawn comic. And now it's just this horrible mess of subpar artwork. terrible writing, a stupid story, dumb villains, and they've taken Tim Drake's character and completely destroyed him. He's gone as kind of the smart, clever, yet somehow sad and somber detective character that we used to have. Now we just have this weird little frumpy, love-struck, effeminate character who... Oh, it's just hard. This book was hard for me to see because I like Tim Drake a lot, and it was already bad enough. I mean, the sexuality thing, whether you like it or not, I wasn't a fan only because I'm such a fan of him and Stephanie Brown. Spoiler, I thought that story was really good, and so they kind of closed the door on that, which... Yeah, that just kind of upset me as a fan of Tim Drake, but just the transformation they've done to the character, the look of the comic, everything about this comic was terrible. And for a character as solid as Tim Drake to be dragged through the mud like this was just really, really hard to sit through. So, second best. This one was really easy for me. The question was just going to be where it ended up on the list. And it came in number 2 because this is a really cool book with a really fresh idea, and that is The Strange Academy by Scotty Young and Humberto Ramos. So this book, when it first came out, I was kind of interested because I like the two creators that are involved with it. It just kind of seemed like, oh, well, it's just going to be Hogwarts in the Marvel Universe. That's going to be pretty fun. Doctor Strange establishes an academy with Brother Voodoo that's going to train the next generation of magic users. But this book is surprisingly deep. These characters are well realized. The book itself it gets dark as it goes along. There's real stakes here to be had, and it really is a solid piece of work. And now that we're into the Strange Academy finals, the new series that started up, it's gotten even more dark, more intense, and you're starting to really see what these students are fighting for. Are they being used by the adults for some war that they're going to be meant to fight, or are they really just trying to prepare them for the world that's out there? And you don't know, you legitimately don't know which side is right, which side is wrong. Very well written book. If you haven't checked this book out, I highly recommend you do it. If you get your hands on the back issues, especially number 1, they're really pricey, but if you can find one or you have one, hold on to it, because a lot of these characters I can easily see someday being in the MCU, and I think these are going to be really pricey books going forward. So, second worst. We're having to trudge through another event. This time we're going to move over to DC, and we're going to talk about the Trial of the Amazons. So this book should have been something good. This should have taken one of the DC's big 3 characters and put them in a storyline that, was transformative, that was, I don't know, at least interesting, but it was none of these things. It was horribly written. The mystery was really lackluster. The dialogue was cringeworthy at best. It was really Vita Ayala going into just her worst storytelling tropes in this. They were all on display, and it was just a weak attempt. And one of the big crimes it did is it serves as the finale kind of to Yara Flor's series. Now, if you remember, when I did this list before, Yara Flor was on the list of top 5 best for the year because she was such a fresh and cool character. And what a neat take on the Amazon mythos to have this South American vibe put into it and this other mythology intermixed with the Greek mythology of the Amazons. I loved it. It was really great. And the fact that DC just abandoned it, and not only abandoned it, then just stuck the character in this awful story to resolve her series was a crime, really. So Trial of the Amazons, the verdict is no, guilty, goodbye. And now here it is, the best that 2022 had to offer. There really was no contest on which was going to be number 1. It was just where everything else below it fell. And that was Fantastic Four Full Circle. This book is amazing. This is Alex Ross, written and drawn, but not painted. Alex Ross actually sat and did a traditional pencil and ink, even though I saw his behind the scenes. He actually used black gouache, not ink, but we're not going to get too particular. But he really wanted to recreate that Jack Kirby, Stan Lee feel of the Fantastic Four world. And I mean, what can be said about this book? This book is pure art. It is so, to look at it's beautiful to look at, first of all, but the story, this is a story that was given to us by somebody who knows these characters, that has a love for the medium of comics, has a love for the characters of the Fantastic Four. He's not trying to deconstruct them. He's not trying to transform them. He's not trying to give us something that, he thinks that we need to see or put a message into these characters. He just celebrates them. And that's what I really wanted out of this book, and it delivered. What a great and fun fun just reading experience this was. If you just want to sit and read a comic book that's well written, obviously beautifully drawn, and builds on the mythology and mythos of the Fantastic Four without needing you to go and know all this knowledge about them, this is the book. This was one of the best experiences I've had reading a comic book in a lot of years, and I'm so happy that I found it. I'm so happy it came along. So easily #1 best of the year, and unfortunately now we have to go to the other side, and as good as that was, something was just its equal but bad. With light must come the dark, and here is the dark, and I could narrow it to one. I tried really hard, but the worst is just going to go to the entirety of the line of X-Men books from Marvel. The X-Men have become just a joke of their former selves. So you have just editorial incompetence, storylines that don't mesh with each other. You have, like, for example, a character, the Gorgon, he died permanent death. They even stated when he died, the resurrection could not bring him back. Yet, just last year, he's back, Immortal X-Men, no explanation, he's just there. Characters that should be gone are just not gone. Rivalries are just tossed to the side, one area, back in others. Characters on multiple teams without any explanation. These books are terrible. They're terribly written. They're terribly drawn. The dialogue is awful. There's no stakes since nobody can die, and there's no real villains. The only villains are Orcus and the Sentinels, and then just random crap that they happen to stumble across. X-Men Green, which was my worst for last year, has been brought back and is now part of the line. It's just as insane, just as like nihilistic and psychopathic as it's ever been. Who's allowing these books to come to print is beyond me, but this entire line of books needs to be torn to the studs and rebuilt. And I have nothing else to say to it. I don't want to give these any more attention. Let's look forward to 2023 and the events we have to celebrate there. Hopefully they give us some new, really interesting books for the top 5 best. I'm sure we're going to have some top 5 worst, and I'm going to leave it there. Tell me your best and worst from last year. I really want to know in the comments below. We'll talk about it, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. So thanks for spending the year with me. I really appreciate all you guys. If you're not already a subscriber, just go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you here. Hit like, share the video if you like, and hope to have you stick around for the next year to come. I'll see you then. Bye.